Hi, everybody. This is Dear Mama Sal, and we're live on a Friday lunchtime, which means we're going to be talking about coping with feelings. And just a reminder, we're all entitled to our feelings. 9 times out of 10, it's probably better we don't share them, if you know what I mean. But, it's a really important thing that we understand that being able to control our feelings is called emotional intelligence. And that's what we work on every Friday lunchtime. For those of you who are new, a very big welcome to you. Those who might be watching on the replay, always nice to meet you. And feel free to leave some comments below if I say anything that you particularly like the sound of. And remember to join us. We, as a group of people, get together 3 times a week just so we can talk about coping generally. And today's topic, is about um, time for a change. The reason that I wanted to talk a bit more about that, and I'll talk more about it on Sunday, is that we, I believe, are going to go through a monumental change any minute now. And, the whole world is changing, our finances are changing. There's a possible situation where we have um, a recession possibly coming and those sort of things. So we know that our lives are going to change. And I thought what I would do is just talk a little bit about why it's so difficult for us. And the other thing is this: if you've got something in your life that you don't like at the moment, that the whole trick to it all, if you like, hi, Anamete, good to see you in Denmark. The whole trick to it all is, if you want to change something in your life, you need to change what you're doing. All right, because whatever you're doing now is creating the reality that you have at the moment. So what I want to do is talk about how we change and how we choose to stay stuck in a lot of cases. I've got a quote here that says, "Worrying will never change the outcome." All right. So if you got something that you're dreading and you're worrying about it, it doesn't change the outcome. So a good thing to do is to be aware that worrying is a total waste of time. I mean, if you can get that into your head, worrying about anything is a total waste of time. And I will try to remember to tell you a story about something that happened to me this week. Jody, if you after I've done the welcome and everything else, let me talk about the car. So, it's really important for uh, absolutely everything that we do is to understand the only way we change the outcome is to change what we're doing. All right. And that's awesome. For those of you who don't know, Jody is our admin, and she does a wonderful job of helping me during the broadcast, and I'm forever grateful. So changing outcomes is really what we're talking about. Anamete, by the way, my big hugs to you and to Jesper, and I hope that you are both doing really well. For those of you who don't know, Anamete is a viewer from way back when, and I always called her and her husband the Denmarkians. Now, I know they're called the Danes, just before anybody's having an issue with it. But for some reason, yeah, and that's what she just typed up. The Denmarkians are here. They bought a house? The Denmarkians bought a house? Wow, that is awesome. Hi, Jesper. Hi, lovely it's really interesting. We had two viewers come in last week that I hadn't seen for a long, long time. And I just love that you come and make my day and make me cry. Yeah, I know I make myself cry. It's okay. You didn't do it. Well, congratulations on getting the house. And just be aware. Thank you. Oh, that kind of you. Jesper saying I'm looking amazing. Yeah, in my mind, you are too, Jesper. Well, I just want to let you know that it's wonderful that you stay in touch. So, you do know that if we continue to go into a recession, I'm presuming that you have a mortgage, or did you manage to do it outright? Because what I want to just warn you about is one of the things we're going to be talking about, is if you don't know it yet, your mortgage can go up quite a bit in a recession. I can remember I lived in Africa, for example, and during that time, I can remember that my mortgage went up to 24%. And I bought a house at 24% interest, really. But I bought a house and I still ended up making a profit. So just hang in there with your mortgage and, don't be surprised. I hope you've got enough room to have the mortgage interest go up. And if you haven't, start adjusting now so that by the time it happens that you'll be able to do that. I wanted to talk a bit about Jody. For those of you who know Jody as our admin, Jody has a lot of illnesses going on, and not of her choosing. They're all illnesses that she basically cannot do much about. But what I find really interesting is that she, for example, notices that she cannot cannot walk as well as she would like to. All right, so that's her issue. Her problem is she can't walk very well. So the only way that she can change that outcome is to change what she is doing. Does that make sense? And it's easy for her to just say, "Oh, well, it's all part of being ill, and my muscles are atrophying, and so be it." But no, that's not Jody's mentality anymore, right? Jody's saying, if I don't want to lose the use of my legs, I need to be working on them. But her problem is she can't stand and walk and do the things that we would do to exercise her legs. Does that make sense? So now Jody went, well, if I can't stand up and walk yet, what can I do to build the muscles so that I can? You see, that's what I call incredibly proactive thinking. And she said, I need to have something that exercises my feet. And she got one of those elliptical, what do you call it? Pedal bike things, just sits on the floor. You don't sit on it. She can sit on the couch and she can just work her legs like this. And also what it will do is it will force her circulation through her body, which again will help the lymphoderma, which again, lymphoderma is when you retain fluid and you puff up. Believe me, I know all about the beginnings of that, Jody. And then obviously, as you increase the use of your legs in terms of being able to do your elliptical, you will not only help your circulation, but you will build those muscles that you crave. So I know that you said that on the very first day you did half an hour. That's incredible. And I kept waiting to hear horrible stories about about how painful her muscles were, but apparently not. So Jody, give me an update. How's it going? How about this? It's so important that we remember the future. We treat it like a noun. It's not, it's a verb. It requires action. So if you want a different future, you have to do something. All right. Worrying about the future doesn't change it. Doing something about it. So I really want us all to understand that we have all sorts of things that are going on in our lives. It's doing something that helps. Now, if some of you will have known that I've got a shed at the back of my house, a big one. I think it's 24 feet or something by probably 12. Yeah, so that would be about 6 foot, wouldn't it? Yeah, anyway, it's about 12, I would think. I'll measure it one day. Anyway, what's happening is there's a leak, and it's had a leak for all this rainy season. And, obviously the leak's getting worse because we had so much rain. So what I had to do was to make a decision, which is Do I fix the roof or leave it? What would you do? Now, remembering, of course, that in that shed I have got an awful lot of good stuff. When I say good stuff, a lot of books are in there, a lot of things like that are in there. And there's part of me that went, okay, well, I could put everything into plastic containers, which would be a lot cheaper. But there's this other part of me that goes, no way. Right? The roof on the house was redone. Now I need to redo the roof on the shed. So, and I know what you're asking me. Why didn't I do this two together? I didn't realize it was leaking at that time. That's why. All right, Jodie's saying about the elliptical thing that she's got. I was scared of the pain on day 2. It didn't happen. I was able to do 1 hour yesterday, and added hand weights today, just starting with 5 minutes. All right, so not only is she now pedaling her legs, but she's also decided to have hand weights, which will now tone her upper body. And by the way, Jodie, what I read somewhere, and I don't know if you're aware of that, the most important muscles for us to make sure we keep toned are these here. So if you do a lot of these sort of things, right, where you're stretching that upper the part of your chest, and one of the things that they said, if you do nothing else, all right, do the exercise that will stretch, and you can even do this holding your weights, all right, and also do obviously this, which stretches the whole core, and that would. I want to go back to the shed for a second. I managed to get a quote on the shed, and I wanted to throw up, but there's this other part of me that goes, it's not a maybe. It's not a maybe. And then I found out that the roofer only took cash. Well, I obviously haven't got a budget set at the moment for doing that roof, but it needs to get done in this summer before I hit next fall. So I said to him, oh, that's a real pity. That means I won't be able to let you do the job if you only take cash. And, I just let it go for a second. And then I listened to my brain. All right. Because I really encourage you to listen to what your brain tells you. And my brain said, well, why don't you just transfer money directly into his account? We can do cash. Now, I could have done, I guess I could have gone to the bank and gone and got the cash, but I'm trying not to use my card too much. And so anyway, the thing was that when I realized that, I wrote to him and I said, unless of course you will accept cash via my bank. In other words, I can transfer money from my bank directly to you. And I love that we can do that today. And apparently that was fine. So we're back on. But unfortunately, then he had a problem. It was meant to be done on Wednesday, but it's a long story. Worrying about it won't change it. I will just be aware that it's a work in progress. Progress is impossible without change, and those who cannot change their minds cannot change anything. This is what I think we all need to put up on our mirrors, all right? Progress is impossible without change. Without change, those who cannot change their minds cannot change anything. So, Jodie, in what way did you need to change your mind in order to get the elliptical, the legs only elliptical? All right, she can't stand and do an elliptical the way that we do. At the moment, she can't stand for very long. That's the whole point. So she's got just one of those smaller machines, all right, like this, a good one that she can use. By the way, she said she lost 5 pounds in 2 days because of the improvement of circulation. Good one, Jodie. Very good one. All right. And so, you look at it all and you go, it's really important that we understand that we can change. How many of you know I have totally changed my profile. Look at that. I'm beginning even to get some definition here. You know, I've changed my profile by, I think it's 14 pounds now this year. All right. And I did it by, I changed the outcome. That was the way I look, by changing the way that I eat. And that was a magical thing that Jody gave me one day, which was just a one liner. Isn't it amazing how many one liners can change your whole world? And that is um, that losing weight starts in the kitchen and getting fit starts in the gym. All right. Or, in other words, if you want to exercise, you will get fit. But if you want to change your shape and lose weight, the place you need to make changes is in the kitchen. And I am quite amazed that once I got that into my brain, and by the way, every time I went to cook, and I still do it, every time I go to cook, I remember two things. Number one, Benji's mantra about eat the rainbow, right? Make sure you got lots of different colors on your plate because that means you're eating a healthy meal. And secondly, I remember that changing my shape starts in the kitchen. So be careful what I eat. If just don't. I can have carbs, and I have them every week, but it's about how many. If you don't like your outcomes, all right, change your responses to things. Now, I think some of you might have seen that I did a vlog. It was actually a week of doing new things again for me. I changed what I did, and I did a vlog about my car. And I don't know if any of you have seen it, but it was just an interesting thing to me where I started to ask myself, why haven't I been doing vlogs from the car? And the answer, of course, was twofold. Number one, I don't use my car very much anymore. All right. I only use it once a week. And then I thought, yes, and then I'm out of the habit of doing it. All right. And when you're doing it, I was doing it every day driving to work. Well, guess what? I retired. you know, so when you think about it, the reason I haven't been doing the vlogs, the drive vlogs, is because I'm not driving. And when I do drive, I haven't thought to, hook up the camera and record what I'm thinking. So that's going to change because I really quite enjoy doing the vlog. And for those of you who saw that one, and if you haven't seen it, yeah, it's an eye opener. The really amazing thing was I got back from doing that trip that I talked about, and then I parked the car. And the next morning, I thought, I just need to change the thing inside my car that says how many kilometers I need to go, to get to the next service, right? Even though they put a sticker up there. I'm for some reason my mind kept saying you need to change that warning that comes up. So I went into the car, and I want to tell you that I couldn't even activate the car. I've got an activator fob. You can't start my car unless you've got it. And, I nothing. The battery was totally dead. And I couldn't understand that at all. But never mind, I've had battery problems before in my life, so I've got a battery charger. So I got the battery charger out, and I connected it all up and everything else and plugged it in. And normally, within an hour, it will be ready to use without any problem. And I went out 2 hours later, and it was still completely zero. So something was wrong, agreed? And I thought, well, maybe I'm just having a bad day. So I undid everything and put it all back where it's meant to go. And then the next day I got up and I reconnected everything. And guess what? It still wasn't charging. And then I thought, this is beyond my pay grade. I can keep doing this, but it's not helping. I'm being patient. Remember that my adage about smile, go slowly. Breathe, breathe, smile, breathe, and go slowly. All right. And so I had done that for 2 days. Hi, Jeannie. Jeannie's saying she loved the car vlog. Yeah. And so then I thought, maybe what I need is another set of brain cells. My two are not. I pressed an awful lot of buttons on my charger to try and get this thing to charge, and it didn't. So I went to my neighbor and asked to borrow her husband for a while because he's very practical. You know what I mean? He's really good with anything to do with anything that's practical. He used to be a volunteer firefighter. He, did a lot of things. So when you need anything that I call is practical, he's my go-to person. So he came over, and funny enough, he took the two leads and he played with the positive, and he said it's not even sparking. So now we know it wasn't the battery that was the problem about not recharging. It was the recharger. And I went, well, I've always pulled it out of the car, done exactly the same thing, and it's always worked. And he said, well, for some reason, it's not working now. So then we sort of sat and thought about it, or stood and thought about it. And what happened was I said, what if I try it on, it's got a start the car type thing where it pushes a lot of voltage through. All right, so you can start your car. I wasn't going to start my car because I thought I had a zero battery. He said, that's a really good idea. Let's try that. So I pressed the button that will then put the heavy charge, and it was really interesting. Immediately it started to spark on, when he touched the battery things and played with them, it immediately started to spark. So we knew that I had got power. And the strange thing was that I had quite a bit of power. It wasn't zero after all. It was, very nearly fully topped up. So I just left it and I let it continue to charge. I put it back on regular, and then the regular charge was working as well. So I learned something, all right? So every now and then, I must have done something when I picked it up. I must have pressed a button that changed the way it normally works. Habit. How many of you know that one of the most difficult things to do is to change a habit? It's also one of the best things you can do is to create them, but to change one is really difficult. So to me, I'd done exactly what I always did, and it wasn't working. So I knew I had to change something. Does that make sense? Now, obviously, my plan B was to phone the equivalent of AAA. We call it BCAA here because I'm in Canada and British Columbia. And that was my backup plan. But before I did that, I asked for help, knowing that asking for help is a sign of strength, not a sign of weakness. So can you see that I could have carried on doing the same thing, but it wasn't helping anything? So therefore, I needed to change what I was doing. After the broadcast, I will go to the car and see if it starts. In other words, now that we know the battery is charged, will it still start? Or did it drain again? Yeah, never mind. And if it did, then we know there's a problem, all right? So understand we need to change our responses to things. And it was really strange. Benji and I chatted for quite a while yesterday. He gave me a phone call, and somewhere in the phone call, he asked me a question that surprised me. And that's why Benji is always such a wise person. He said, Sal, I know you've lived through a recession before, the big one, not the big one in the early 1900s, but the one we had in the 80s. And he said, what is your memory of it? What did people do? And I said, oh, a lot of people learned to live within their means because their means kept going down and they kept adjusting. They kept tightening their belt, as they say, in different ways until they learned to deal with it. because whether you liked it or not, the recession would come in and things would get, a lot more expensive, and, and therefore the way that you did things change. How many of you have a pretty set idea of what you're going to order from the store or what you're going to buy in the store, right? You know the products you like, and you go and have, get them all the time. Well, guess what? In a recession, when you've got far less money and you need to make it go as far as humanly possible, you change that. Maybe you're not buying the top name brand ketchup anymore. Oh, no, it's a no-brainer. There's certain things I don't change. What about you? Tell me about that. How many of you, even if you're really tight on money, still buy certain name brands just because you love them? All right. And I was thinking about that. There are certain things, coffee. I have made sure, I'm not joking, you can't see it. I have got a year's worth of coffee stored in case the price of coffee goes so astronomical that I can't afford to buy it. I know I've got a full year's worth of coffee here. And I made that. How did I do that? I kept buying. Every time it went on sale, I would buy another, container. And then every time the packet one that I like went on sale, I bought another one of those as well. Because what I do, I think some of you have heard me do the blog on this. What I do is I buy middle of the road coffee in a container, but I buy high-end coffee in a packet. And what I do is I mix the two, and it works really well. Yes, interesting. Jeannie saying Heinz ketchup. That's what I was thinking of. Heinz ketchup, Cane's mayonnaise, Lee and Perrins Worcestershire sauce. Absolutely. And so there's certain things that you will eat spaghetti bolognese all week if you have to, as long as I can still buy Heinz ketchup. Now, we do know that, and Jodie's now adding HP sauce because she decided to try some one day when I told her about it, and now she's hooked on it. So yeah, there's certain things that you definitely know you will do with less of something else just so you can have that. Makes sense? So it's just changing the habit. Now, Jesper is saying toilet paper. I will never buy cheap toilet paper again. All right. How many of you, uh, I actually have found a way to stop. If you've got to spend less on toilet paper, um, go back and think about it. What did they do before toilet paper? All right. People have been pooping and peeing all their lives. All right. So what did they do before we had toilet paper? And, some of you going, yuck. Well, yeah, I will, if I poop, I will definitely use toilet paper. But, 90% of the time when I pee, I now recycle. I know this is going to make some of you roll your eyes. I recycle my wet wipes that I use. And once I've used them and they've gone through the wash, I then put them in a Kleenex box. All right. And I have them next to my toilet. And if I pee, I use those and immediately drop them in disinfectant water. Does that make sense? So I no longer use toilet paper to pee. Right? I'm saving that much toilet paper all the time. So there you go. All right. Now, Jeannie's saying she always buys brown eggs, never white. All right. Funny, Jeannie, you and I are similar in a lot of ways. I don't care what the price of eggs is. I buy a certain brand of egg, like the Born omega-3 eggs. So I can see cheaper eggs, but I don't buy them. I buy that particular one. Interesting. But if I had to, would I? Yes. And what would I do if I really needed to save on eggs? I would buy eggs by the pack. pack. What do you call it? You know, where they have like 18 eggs. Why? I'll show you why. Even though a dozen eggs will last me at least a couple of weeks, I now know that you can freeze eggs. Look at that. I froze them whole like this. And I now know that if I want a fried egg, I can take one of those out and just leave it in the pan and or start cooking it slowly at a fairly low heat. And it actually tastes exactly the same. That's the amazing thing. But if I'm baking, I can bring it out, let it thaw, and then use it in my baking. So even though there's just one of me, and I wouldn't go through more than a dozen eggs a week, I could buy 24 of them. All right, what do those packs come in? 24s, I think. Do any of you buy the flat of eggs? I need to put this back in the freezer. Hold on. However, the one thing I'd like to add is you need room in your freezer to be able to put them, which is why I have stopped buying a lot of stuff so that I start using the stuff that's in my freezer. I need to make more room. So that's one of the things that I can remember. Two things. Number one, the mortgage rate was insane. And secondly, the cost of things was really difficult. A friend of mine, all right, Jody's saying, I've lately been buying 18 count egg cartons. Yes, in other words, not a dozen anymore, 18, because it's cheaper, right? And that's the other thing I've been trying to warn you all of, or advise you, which is always buy more if you possibly can. It's cheaper in the long run. Anamete says she always buys Lurpak butter. You see, that's the habit we have. We love the taste of it or whatever. I've learned how to make my own butter. All right, Jesper is saying our big cartons of eggs are with 10 or so. You have 24. Yeah, I think so. Anamete is also saying she freezes eggs as well. Now then, how many of you clean your bathrooms with a product like this? All right, this happens to be called Scrubbing Bubbles, not being paid for this. But think about how much you spend buying one of these. Just in your mind, give that a thought. Here in Canada, one of these costs about $6 Canadian. All right. So that's a pretty expensive product if you use it a lot. And by the way, I use it for a lot of things in my bathroom. Now, that's $6. This is a gallon, okay, of the same type of product. And I paid, round figures, 15 for this. So basically, if I bought 4 of these, it's probably nearly close to 5 of these, but if I bought 4 of these, I would still, because I don't have to buy 4 of these, I have saved $8. Because how many of you know that within a year, I'm probably going to use all of that? All right, I'll just keep decanting it into here. As this empties, I'll fill it up and use it, fill it up and use it. I have saved myself $8 just by buying the gallon one. Does that make sense? This evening, for those of you who watch the evening program, we're going to be talking about beef. And I'm going to show you how much I save on beef the way that I buy it. I got a gizmo this week. I have all my life wanted a digital scale. And I got one. You see, when I save $8 over there, I can get myself something that I normally can't afford. That's how I look at it, because at the moment I'm managing to live within my means quite well. If you do things the same way you've always done them, you'll get the same outcomes you've always gotten. In order to change your outcomes, you've got to do things differently. So, how many of you are going, I've never frozen eggs? But here's the difference, all right? If you know that buying eggs, I don't know what they cost in the States, but if you buy your eggs 6 at a time, I don't know, I buy a dozen at a time, all right? And did you know how long eggs will last in your fridge? That's the other question that I want to make sure you know. See, when you've got the right research, then you know, all right? And so I don't know if you know this, but eggs will last way beyond the buy date that they put on. Hang on a second. Okay, these eggs say that I should use them up by July 10th. It's not true. As long as I keep them in the fridge, all right? As long as I keep them in the fridge, they will last way longer than that. Do you all know how to check if an egg is okay? I can talk about it, but why don't I just show you? Okay. So if you've got some eggs and you think that they might be not good anymore, just take an egg and drop it. Okay. Now, can you see that this egg went all the way down to the bottom? There's no gap between the egg and the base of this glass. That means the egg's fine. Did you know that? If it's not fine, it will rise. If it rises just a tiny little bit, it's on the turn. If it floats all the way to the top, definitely don't open it up. There you go. You got your tip for the day. Here we go. I'm going to put that back. Yes, Jeannie's saying I freeze butter. I buy it when it's on sale. I always do that. Plus, I've learned how to make my own butter now. I made some last night. And so, isn't that amazing? How did I not know how to make butter? With today's technology in our kitchens, making butter is a breeze. I made this in about 4 minutes, I think. Not because I know how to do it now. So understand that you can just make that small change and save yourself a lot of money. But as Jody will tell you, what happens when you've already filled up the freezer? And then it's time to change because you're not eating enough out of your freezer. So stop buying stuff, start eating the stuff that's in there. Jody's saying, wow, she can get 18 eggs for $3.32 at Walmart. I pay, I think, about $6 round figures for a dozen. So that's half the price. All right, Jody, could you do me a quick favor? Jody's saying she can barely fit a Tic Tac in her freezer at the moment. Jody, do me a big favor, if you will. Find out the cost of whatever butter you would normally buy. And no, top quality butter. Sorry, not. Find out the price of the top quality butter, and then also find out the price of whipping cream. All right? I'd like that comparison. What's the difference in price? I'm sorry to ask you to work. That's what you love to do, so go right ahead. So, do you believe that you could dramatically tighten your budgets and still be happy? See, that's a feeling, right? That's what I want you to concentrate on. It means that we can do it. I have a friend of mine that wanted to keep their house so badly, all right, so badly that they were prepared to basically eat spaghetti with tomato, what do you call it? Pizza sauce on it, just so they could afford their mortgage. All right. And literally, they lived on spaghetti and pizza sauce for the longest time. They'd add a little bit of fresh vegetables into it or whatever, but that's what they ate. And then, how many of you know I now have my I've learned how to make little meat pies, baby meat pies. 2 meat pies does me for dinner. And, it's just like, it saves so much money. But it allows me, I'm still crying now, it allows me to have steak, good quality steak. Why? Because during the week, I don't eat steak. And that's why I want to show you what I do. All right, so here we go. I believe that we can all tighten our belts. Now, Jody's giving me a thing. Kerrygold butter is $7.72 per pound. Whipping cream is $2.68. For 16 ounces. Hang on a second. So I made this much pure butter out of about half of a liter. Okay, so that's a quart. This is 2 quarts, right, Jody? I think I got it right. We speak different measurements in our different things. So what Jody is saying, whipping cream is $4.68 for 32 ounces. Is this 32 ounces? It's 946 milliliters. I know. It's only half full. That's a quart. That's what I thought. Okay, so, and is that 32 ounces? That's what I'm trying to find out. I'm trying to make sure. I want to tell you, I made this much butter, which will last me for a couple of weeks at least, out of only half of this. All right, and today I will make butter out of the rest of it because it's about to go past its prime. So before it goes off, I make butter out of it. Does that make sense? I no longer buy butter. But wait, there's more. Before I made the butter, I already made this much whipped cream. All right? So you understand, I now spend $3 to buy a liter or 32 ounces of whipping cream. I make butter and have whipped cream if I want it. So do you understand the savings there? That's the amazing thing. And I look at it and I go, I cannot believe I lived a lifetime and didn't learn how to make my own butter. But now, as long as I can buy whipping cream, it's amazing. Jody, I will never be able to thank you enough. For teaching me or suggesting I try what's called filtered milk. I've mentioned it before, but I want to say it again. To change your milk is a major issue. Do you agree? It sort of like messes with your psyche in some way. But Jody said, yeah, 946 milliliters to 32 ounces. Thank you. Anyway, so here's the thing. I always bought certain milk. This is filtered milk. And I thought the taste of it would be terrible. It tastes absolutely, for me, I didn't even notice a difference. But the difference is how long it lasts. I can now buy my milk once or twice a month. And if it's on special, definitely think about that. Without any problem at all. It lasts. It doesn't go off. I'm not throwing milk away. How much milk do you throw away? Jody's saying I like it even more than regular milk. Well, quite honestly, I don't know why I'd ever buy regular milk. And what have they filtered out? They filtered out the stuff that makes it go bad. I want to say, Jody, that alone has probably saved me another whole whack of money because I never, touch wood, I have never run out of healthy milk. All right, Jesper saying, I'd love you to try Danish milk. That's another world. I've tried milk in the US once. What a change. I now buy 3.25 filtered milk. Mm. 3.25%. I've been doing an experiment. I've been buying milk to go, or 1% milk, also pre-filtered. And I don't even have it stored in the fridge. It's stored in my pantry. I'm trying to see where the best before date is on here. Might need glasses for that. I think I bought this lot in April. Best before May the 20th. I bought it in April, and it's been in a cupboard. It hasn't even been in the fridge. By the way, use it for my smoothies. Hasn't gone off. Small change. Major difference. So, would you agree that none of us like to change our habits? When you go through your shopping list, you know exactly what brand to buy, what size to buy, whatever. Just by willing. What I said was, I'm going to buy half a dozen of those small bottles of 1% and keep them in my cupboard and then bring them out as I need them, for when I'm sort of running out of other milk. By the way, when I make my butter, I keep the buttermilk. I can't see it right now, but I keep the buttermilk and I make my smoothies with it as well. All right, so none of it's going to waste. Very important. Our actions change our minds. Our minds can change our behavior, and our behavior can change our outcomes. Remember Jody, right? She needed to see in her mind that she could, even with all that's going against her, she could exercise her legs better. And therefore, she decided to change that habit and did. I think I saw a quote, Jody, that made me think of you. All right. And it's from Liam Neeson, the actor. And he said, let me see if I can remember it. Rest is rust. Resting is rusting. And motion is lotion. So if you know that your body is not, you're getting like me, and you're getting older, and I'm definitely getting older. All right, you're getting older, and your muscles start to change and things like that. Resting is rusting. Motion is lotion to your ligaments, to your joints and everything else. So the more you rest, Jody, and you know that. That's why Jody's decided to do more to get the circulation going more. All right? And because that's good, that helps all her joints, it helps everything. So, yet again, Jody, a big hug and lots of love to you, because you just don't have the excuses. You saved up so you could get one of those things and then ended up getting it for free. I mean, hello. How great is that? Right? How great is that? How about this one? Viktor Frankl said, when we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves. We are challenged to change ourselves. A lot of us are going to get financially challenged, right, in the coming probably year. But you can do it. All right. Remember that broadcast I did some time ago about what rations you got during the war? All right. That literally people lived and were happy eating that little. And they were so grateful for those very small luxuries they had. I think they were allowed an egg a week or something really ridiculous. An egg per person per week. Go figure that one. But Jody's reminding us, that resting is okay and important when needed. But balance is the key. Activity is equally important. So, and as is portion control. Now, I found out making those little mini tarts, meat pies, what I found out was that if I make them, and for those of you who weren't watching me make them in a Friday evening broadcast, I actually made my meat tarts with pastry shells and buying chunky soups, soups with beef barley or soups with chicken and rice or whatever. If you get one of those soups, that's what I call condensed, it makes an amazing pie, little tart, all right? And now what I do is, because I don't want to make too many at a time, I only use about half a can at a time. And what I do is I freeze the rest of it in these ice cube trays, because I've done the experiment, you know that. And one ice cube is just exactly the right amount I need to go into a tartlet. So what I do is I will make 6 or 8, and then I will freeze the other 6 or 8, depending what it is, right? So one can, which cost me about $3, $4 maybe, because it's the good quality one with good stuff in it. So that $4 will make me over a dozen meat pies, little tarts, for the cost. Really, think about that. So you can do different things and still really enjoy it. Oh, my favorite at the moment is butter chicken. I've been doing that quite a bit. I really like that. So learn to change. You can change. You've all watched me change my eating. Now, first of all, you all watched me do a year of exercise and get very little. I think I lost a total of about 6 pounds over the year, even though I was exercising a huge amount. Now I've changed what I'm eating, and I have lost more in 6 months than I lost in the whole year that I was doing the exercising. But Jodie's absolutely right about that. How many of you rest enough? Pacing yourself is really important, all right? So I'd like to make sure that you all understand that if you need to rest, which I do, all right, and we all do, I do things in what I call rotations, all right? I will, do some cleaning and do X, Y, and Z, and then I will rest for an hour or half an hour, depending on what I'm working on and how much I've used my body. I was doing a lot of stuff with my weed whacker this week, all right? And that's good. I see that as exercise. Holding a weed whacker is, resistance training for my arms, and because you're using your core, all right? You're using your core muscles. So I don't see weed whacking as not nasty stuff. I see it as, oh, let me go and exercise. That's called weed whacking. Or I'm sweeping my driveway this week, right? Because I no longer see that as a nasty job. I see it as, sweeping is great use of my upper body. All right. Again, I'm using this part. I'm trying to get rid of the fat and build the muscle back in my stomach. Viktor Frankl, Jeannie is saying, was talking about people in the Holocaust. Yes, Viktor Frankl, but it's so wonderful to. I've spent a lot of time reading Viktor Frankl stuff, and I quote him, I hope, fairly often because he says a lot of wonderful things. Thanks for mentioning that. Jody is saying your rotations, or I do things in rotation, have inspired me to change the way I schedule my day. The zone cleaning is a game changer. Yes, I was going to get onto that. Let me just find where that is. Okay, it's coming up soon. Just bear with me a second. I just wanted to before I let go of, if you want to change the outcome, you need to change what you're doing. Some of you know that my website has been down for 2 years. All right. Something went wrong with it, and it sort of started to have a problem, and then it got a bigger problem, and then they said that in order to keep it, I would need to upgrade it, and that was going to cost me quite a bit of money that I didn't have. Makes sense. I didn't have the money, so but then I prayed on it a lot, which is, do I just let it go? And I really got a strong message, don't let the website go, because when you get to a stage where you don't want to be doing the vlogs, you could still write because you enjoy writing. And that's, so that you could carry on the work that you do via your website. Well, out of nowhere, about 10 days ago, one of my viewers from way back when contacted me, Matthew, for those of you who remember Matthew. He contacted me and said, Sal, he tried to get into the website to have a look, see what I was up to. And he realized it was down. And so he wrote to me and said, I see that your website's down. Would you like some help with it? Because that's what he does, right? And I said, yes, please. And if you haven't visited DearMamaSal.com, it's now working again. So exciting. You see, I knew I needed to change things in the website, but it was beyond my pay grade. For one, I didn't have the talent to do it. But secondly, um, I didn't have the money to do it. And then Matthew he just did it like overnight. One minute it wasn't working, and by the next morning it was, except he'd forgotten to release it to say that it was working. So, it was absolutely incredible. So now I've started posting things back on the website. Another major change, all right? And the whole thing is that there are things in your life that you want to change, right? So this is your moment here. Let's talk about it. All right. What is it that you want to change in your life? Thank you, Jody. Jody's saying congrats on the website. That's awesome news. Yeah. And, what I want to do is to put up mini case studies there, talking about things that we need to change. I've put one up on, for those of you who are gardeners, if you haven't seen it, how to repot something the easy way. And it's so simple. I can't believe I lived a lifetime without knowing how to do that. And then the second thing is I put another one up about this whole thing about smile, breathe, and go slowly. I gave a case study of something that happened to me and how I use that so that you can understand. By changing our mindset, we can actually dramatically change the course of life. Improve intelligence and productivity, improve the quality of our lives, and improve every single education and business outcome. How many of you have been working on the spring cleaning 101 that we've been doing? In other words, what I said is, imagine your house. Divide each room into quarters and only work on 1/4 of a room a week or a month, depending on how bad that room is. All right. Now, I want to tell you that I have been doing so well on this. I literally now have my rotation. Have I done my spring cleaning today? Now, you see, in the old days, I would say, of course not. It's a huge job, but it isn't anymore. Have I done something? Doesn't have to be. What is spring cleaning to me? Anything I don't normally do, right? I normally make the bed. I normally tidy up. I normally do this. Spring cleaning is something that I don't normally do. Do you know the rewards I've had this week? The feeling of accomplishment I've had it this week because of my little bit of spring cleaning every day. I found a little drawer that I had in my pantry, and it was stuck at the back of a shelf. And I thought, what is that? It's a little drawer about this big. And I thought, I wonder what's in there. Because apparently I hadn't ever pulled it out because I didn't know what was in there. I think I'd show you. It's better, right? So there was this little drawer, not a big one, little thing, and it was stuck on a shelf. When I opened it up, I found a battery charger, a second battery charger. By the way, because I couldn't find my battery chargers, I bought a third one. Now I have 3, but I've got 2 backups now. I also found my battery tester. And you do, of course, know that I couldn't find my battery tester, so I bought another one. So now this drawer contains, and I think you all know that I save my batteries after I've used them. And what I do is I will save them for 6 months. And you'll be amazed after 6 months what happens. All right. So this battery obviously wasn't didn't have much juice in it, which is why it was put in a baggie like that. Let me see what it's got in it now. Okay, so after a season, because I put them in here for a season, this one is still dead. That's okay. What about this one? Yeah, this one's still only hasn't got enough room in it. I obviously did this quite recently. Yeah, that's also it. But what will happen if you leave them long enough? I don't know why they start to get charged back again. It'd be really nice. I find one that has some charge in it. Yeah, that one. Oh yeah, this one's definitely nearly getting charge back in it. And one of the ways to make it do that, I don't know if you know that. How many of you have a battery charger? One of these things. You plug it in. You plug it in and it recharges your batteries, if you've got rechargeable batteries. However, this is what I found. If I take these batteries and I just put them in here and blip them a couple of times, all right, it'll immediately tell me it's not a rechargeable battery. That's fine. But what it does is it puts the lotion into the battery. Remember, motion is lotion. Because I spark it, put it in here and make it work, it does what it happened to my car battery, which it brings it back to life. I don't know why. I don't care why. However, I do normally do it wearing glasses, just in case something nasty happens. But think about that, all right? So the Spring Cleaning 101 created the find of all these battery testers and things. The other thing was I've started reorganizing my pantry. And the truth is, I just literally get my stepladder and go to the higher shelves. That's what I'm working on. I went to the higher shelves and I just reorganized them. Amazing how much extra room I found. Have you found that as well, Jody? I didn't realize I had that much room. The way that I had them organized before was sort of not the best use of the space. Yeah, that's why I said that. Jesper's saying, watch yourself when you're doing that, Sal, giving my batteries a shock. It's called Sal the firefighter. Yeah, I am aware of that, but I am careful, I assure you. That's why I always wear glasses, in case one explodes or something. And so you look at it and go, by reorganizing one shelf, all right, of my pantry. What does it take to reorganize a shelf in my pantry? Probably 5 minutes. Seriously. So that's part of my rotation every day. I just ask myself, have I done my spring cleaning today? And even if it's 5 minutes reorganizing a shelf, you understand that I take a wet face cloth with me and I just wipe the shelf down before I put everything back. That's called spring cleaning. But I've also found all these incredible things. It's quite exciting. Now, I wanted to show you a picture of something because I think it's important, again, seeing something that can make a difference. All right, hold on a second. I want to get my pictures here for you. All right, so when I moved back into the house, I think some of you know, I bought some of these big totes. Right, see that? See the big tote underneath? And then there's a box on top of it. Now, both of those, the big tote at the bottom and the box above it, are full of electrical stuff, right? They are old not hard drives. They're, yes, external hard drives. They are all my things like tripods and stuff like that. I don't know about you, but 150,000 different cables. And just in case I've got any viewer here that hasn't seen this before, hold on one second. When I find cables that are for my computer or my, for my phone or whatever, I don't store them flat anymore. All right. I got a wire coat hanger. Here's the top of it. And I've got this bit here because these are long things, but I put all the ends that go into appliances at the top. Why? If I want to find the right cable for this gizmo, all right, I don't have to go through 600 cables. All I do is I bring whatever it is I'm trying to find the right cable for. All right, let's say it's my phone. Okay. And you all know that there are different sort of things. I don't have to pull all the cables out. I just literally go, does that one fit in there? Oh, yeah, it does. And only once I know I've got the right one do I pull it out. And it hangs in my closet, taking up zero space. Right? And so each time I find one of these, look how many I've got, and I've got more. Right? I want to tell you, I've showed this to a lot of people, and they all said, why didn't I think of that? The trick is I don't have to keep undoing cables and trying to see if they fit. I can just do it while they're all still contained. That was something I learned this year. If you want to spring clean, contain things, right? Really important. Contain it. Just by containing it, it's tidy. So can you imagine how much space that many cables would take up any other way? Right? So going back to the story, I opened up that big bin. Now, what I've got in that big bin, as I said, an awful lot of old hard drives. Does anybody know the right way to destroy or get rid of hard drives? I'm really scared to get rid of them for fear somebody smarter than I am knows how to get into them and could take information off them. So if anybody here, yes, there would be probably somebody, who knows what the right way to dispose of them is, I'd be very interested, because that's why I've got so many of them. I don't know how to get rid of them. So that I keep them. Now, what I thought I would show you, that's what I wanted to show you, was I took them all out and I got some baggies, plastic bags, and I started putting everything into categories. All right, these are hard drives. These are extensions for things. These are, all different sorts of things. Obviously the tripods and everything just went in flat. But when I'd finished, and that's what I want to show you. Can you see how I didn't have that second box anymore? Just by containing everything into their right things. So I know it's a bit like my freezer, right? So I know if I want, to find something, I've got all the mice that I've got, my backup mice, all right? These things. All in a bag. I've got backup this, backup that, whatever, right? Now I'm starting to get them all categorized in the right bags. Now, do I really need 4 old mice? No. Probably 1 would be plenty. But can you see how much space I made in my closet? Right? Let me just go back to the original picture. This is what my closet looked like to start with. And now that's how much space I created. Now, this tote could go back into my spare room, but do you understand? It's a perfect place for it right there. Right? So I'm happy that it stays there. Now, did I totally sort out the whole of the box? No. Why? I allowed myself so much time to work on it. I worked on it, put everything back tidily. That's my new thing. After I finished the little spring cleaning rotation thing, I now put everything back tidily. And that used to be a problem for me. I do a big job like that, and then I'd end up with so much mess in the house. So now I spend the time, and then I tidy everything up, and only then do I get on with my life. And what happened was I not only created that wonderful space that I can now, if you think about it, put another box in if I want to, but I felt so good about it. Can you imagine? Who you hang out with determines what you dream about and what you collide with. And the collisions and the dreams lead you to changes. And the changes are what you become. Change the outcome by changing your circle. How many of you find that my talking about my spring cleaning inspires you to maybe spend 10 minutes doing one thing you don't normally do? All right. And that is a really important part of life. All right. It's really important. I love it when Benji and I chat about stuff. I was talking to Benji about the system I made this is, as you all know, this is the bottom piece of celery, the very end knob that it doesn't have any earth in here. I can't really show you because you won't be able to see it. This is growing hydroponically. And all I did to create that was to put a bit of cloth, it's actually a bit of face cloth. I cut the strip. You see that strip? That strip goes up and around the bottom. All right. And so this celery has attached itself to that. And I can add celery to any meal I want to just by cutting this off. All right. Or maybe I'm actually putting celery leaves in my salad right now, right? Because I've got this down to such a fine art. But this was just that bottom bit. There you go. I can show you. Get it? That was just the bottom bit of the thing. Now, of course, after the broadcast, I need to... Oh, wait a minute. Maybe I can show you. All right. So I take... this is a chopstick. And I'm just going to push that... All right. So I'm just going to push that back in. And now what it's doing, right, is I've just put a bit more water in there, but it's as the water level goes down, it now just is sucking up the water through that piece of face cloth. And the nub, if you like, of that piece of celery is sitting on that. So it's constantly getting the water it needs, but not overly so. And I was showing Benji that, I showed some of you in a broadcast that I've actually got my little herb garden is actually beginning to grow now. It took me over a year to get things to grow, but now it's growing. And to be able to, and he said to me, I really need that in my life. He said, to be able to just have fresh herbs. And I said, I cannot tell you the difference it makes where you go, caprese salad, I need some basil. Oh, okay. It just is incredible. Yes, Jody's saying she uses celery tops in her soups. I find, all right, as I said, I find adding, instead of adding celery per se into my salad, I've started, cutting off one of these and chopping the whole lot up, and it, into my salads. It's a little bit more. And what does it cost me? Time to learn. But now that I know it, nobody can take that away from me. Nobody can take that away from me. And that's what I want you to think about, right? Which is, you've all watched me struggle to learn how to do these things. But there was a reason why I wanted to learn. And the reason was, if times get really hard, can I grow enough? Now, the other trick, and some of you know about this one, but I want to remind you all because it might be important. I no longer buy salad in a plastic container. I buy living lettuce, all right? So I buy it, so it comes like this. But I put some water at the bottom and keep it in the fridge. Why? Lettuce likes cold temperatures. So this one is continuing to grow. I bought the next one, but this one is still continuing to grow. So what I will do is I will take hang on. Okay, so I buy it like this. The new one arrived yesterday. I buy it like this. Okay, and it's called living butter lettuce. And if you open it up, okay, there it is, complete with its root ball. And it has enough moisture in there to keep it moist and growing and crisp. Then what I will do when I make a salad is I will take the outside leaves here and then add maybe a couple of the baby leaves from here because they're so cute and tasty and such a nice color. Make sense? But how much salad do I throw away now? Think about that. Because I've changed the way that I buy lettuce, I am not wasting. I was wasting. That's what made me angry. I was wasting so much salad by every week, lettuce. And I said, I don't want to be wasting it anymore. What can I do? This solved my problem. Now, do I still have romaine as well? Yes. Because I know how to keep romaine for over a month. Now, all right. I need to reorder. I realized what I found out was if you buy the romaine hearts and take one of them out and wrap it in a paper towel and put it back in again, that romaine package will last me a month of salads. I rarely throw any away. And what occasionally, after it's been there a little bit too long, I will need to strip off a couple of the outside leaves, but the 3 romaine hearts will keep me in lettuce for a month. I think it's amazing. So it's these little changes. Think about what's upsetting you. So does anybody have something that they'd like to change, but they don't know how to? And if you're watching on the replay, feel free to leave a comment because I do read the comments and I do answer them as soon as I possibly can. But here's something I want you to remember if we do go into a heavy recession. Things change, and they will, all right? Things change and friends leave. How many of you have got friends that, maybe are only friends because, you feed them or you do whatever. And if you stop doing that, because you can't afford to anymore, it's amazing how many friends you can lose. So just expect to lose some friends. By the way, you also get to know who your real friends are. I'm a great believer that if I know who my real friends are, right? They've stuck by me regardless of whether I was making a lot of money or I've been broke, right? They're still there and it doesn't make a blind bit of difference to them. Not a single piece of difference. Life doesn't stop for anybody. So understand, if we go into difficult times, I want you to imagine, that you can cope. You just need to make a few changes. It's not the end of the world. And if you're saying, but I won't be able to afford to keep paying my mortgage, well, you know what we did in the day? We rented out rooms for the time of the recession, all right? If you've got a house, then rent a room. Be careful who you rent it to, obviously, but you understand there are ways to make up the difference. And that's what I want you to think about. What do we need to do? Now, Jody, I would think you are the perfect person to advise us all because you went from a two-income family to a no-income family, except for your entitlements, right? And I call them entitlements. What's the right word? Your pensions and whatever, right? You went from a two-income family down to that because you got sick and Lionel quit his job so he could look after you. Disability. Yes, you get a disability thing. So you probably, I hope you're grateful for being on disability. Now, the reason I say that, Jody, is because you've already learned how to tighten your budget. All right. You've already learned how to deal with less. And by the way, Jody, the really peculiar thing is that uh, that a recession will hardly affect you. Now, it'll affect you on food, but you've learned how to deal with that problem, right? You've learned to make meals last longer. And you bought a freezer, I rather, you bought a freezer so that you can make food and freezer bank it. You see, you've already learned all those tricks that a lot of people are going to need to learn. And Jody's saying there isn't any more room to tighten the belt. Right? So, you look at it and go, but you've learned those lessons, Jody. And I bet you that you will find more ways. And really, I know you. If you need to, you will find even more ways. By the way, I was talking last week about instead of rhubarb strawberry pie, try making the pie with rhubarb and raspberries. Jody did it this week. She got brave. It's difficult. If you've always made strawberry rhubarb, to change that when you don't know what it's going to taste like is very difficult. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Change is difficult. So, Jody, can you tell us what went through your mind before you did it? Right? What went through your mind? Yeah, I want to try it, but what was the but? I might not like the taste, or yeah, Jody's saying thankful for the freezer and all the strategies that you've taught us. Well, I'd like to think that Dear Mama Sal viewers are going to be able to cope with this a whole lot better than people who haven't been watching, because we've been talking about this stuff for 2 years, and I'm going to continue to talk about it until we're all understand we can cope. So, Jody, I said, really recommend you try rhubarb and raspberry. And your creative mind went, that's interesting combination. But why? What went through your mind that you didn't make it? And then what went through your mind when you decided to try it? Right, she's immediately writing rhubarb and raspberries for the win. Never going back. I wanted to try it, but had always used strawberries, took a chance and splurged on fresh raspberries. Loved it. By the way, I do mine with frozen raspberries. I just bring them out of the freezer, put them in a colander, keep the juice that drips off and put it in my smoothie. So you can buy frozen raspberries if you want to. Each person has a choice. The choice to do as one may wish and as one wants. That is what keeps you an individual. If a person sees no benefit to change, they will not change. All right, Jeannie's saying she saw a picture of that rhubarb and raspberry pie. I want to tell you, the thing you cannot possibly imagine is the taste, Jeannie. That's what I want to tell you. There is something about that combination of the two. Jody's saying, after trying it, I was stunned for a moment. I said, of course, Sal was right. And Lyle ate a slice of pie before dinner. He couldn't wait. It is that incredible punch of those two flavors, right? It's there's something about the taste of the raspberry and the crust and and the rhubarb in there, the taste of rhubarb, but it's like it's a wake-up call for your taste buds. And I want to tell you, I don't even add sugar. I just literally take the fruits and mix them up and throw them in the pie. Yeah, how is Lionel feeling? Yes, he's not been well. The raspberry complements the rhubarb perfectly. I thought, Jody, when I heard about it, I thought rhubarb is already a tart. I don't mean a tart like a pie, but it's a tart tasting fruit. So raspberries also, and I'm going, won't that be too tart? It won't have the right taste. Well, yeah. What I said to Jody is, tell Lionel he's not allowed second helpings until he's had his dinner. So, but Jody, do you understand? You had to overcome your habit in order to gain that experience. Does that make sense? That's the point I'm trying to make, that, this spring cleaning, I need to overcome my habit of ducking certain things and go, okay, this is the week that I do that. I can spend all week. I could have spent all week in that area beneath my in my closet. But I took everything out and I vacuumed it and I washed it. And then, before I put everything back, I took it to my freezer because that's the right counter height. And I took things out and reorganized them and put them back. Not perfect, but I've already lost a box. Right? Now, the next time I get there, I will try and reduce the size of that container, or get that down by a quarter at least, and then I can add other things into that container. Making sense? Jody's saying, yes, I had to be willing to try and fail, but without risk, there is no reward. How long did I play with regrowing things from store-bought foods? I thought it was a con to begin with, but this is living proof that, if you persevere. Now, you all know that it all started with my green onions. I buy one new bunch of green onions every season. That's all. And the rest of it, I just keep chopping a piece of green onion off. And look at the roots on this one. It's been growing here. I think I wrote the date on it so I'd know. Go back in there, silly thing. Okay, I'm just going to put some more water in there to push the roots down. This has been growing since April. I bought these April the 21st. So they're already a month old. All right. And even when I think they are dead, right, when I've really, cut it so many times, I then plant them in the garden just in case they want to come up again. Why? I found out that spring onions can take a heavy snowfall and then they'll come up again. So I've got this another group growing in my garden. How many of you know I don't really need to buy onions for the taste because I've got enough spring onion to give that taste now? All right. But I do still buy onions because I love caramelized onions. Right? And so that's it. If you focus on results, you will never change. If you focus on change, you will get the changed results. So will garlic grow again? Yes, I'm pretty certain it will. I'm allergic to garlic, so it's not an experiment I have done. But garlic has, okay. Do you buy your garlic in a bulb? Ginny, or do you buy? If you buy it in a bulb and it's still got the roots on it, right? Most onions come like this. So, okay, so there you go. Jeannie's saying, yeah, it will. I think so as well. All you need to do is to do some experiments, be prepared to fail, and just literally fill it up with water and just put the garlic bulb on top, all right? And keep the water level up to the bottom of so the roots are touching the water. Does that make sense? And keep it until the roots start to come down. Once the roots come down about an inch, you don't have to keep adding water because it'll keep following the water down. All right? What I'm looking to do is, now, if I did this with this onion, it would probably start growing more onion out the top. All right? So I'd have spring onion coming off the top of it. So shall we do that? I've got a spare onion. Shall we do one and see how it does? What it does? Because there it is. Now, I'm not 100% sure if it'll work, but let's try it. Because then, if it works, it'll, it's like, how long would it last for? Because it would be creating spring onions out of the top of it. Huh. Got a feeling I tried it once before. Oh, under the category of did you know, have any of you had a mosquito bite yet? I got one last night, which is unusual because I got a bug zapper in my house, but apparently on the way to getting zapped, this mosquito found me. And I found that I was scratching my leg this morning when I was sitting at the computer. And I thought, oh, I must have got bitten. Do you know what to do for a mosquito bite so it stops itching? What do you do? Now, the reason I say that is you've probably found your cure, but I've tried a lot of them that didn't work. But I remember reading something recently, and I thought, I wonder if that really works. Well, today I tried it, and it did. I literally took some apple cider vinegar and put some on my finger and rubbed the mosquito bite. The itch went away immediately. By the way, if you are plateauing with weight loss, take some apple cider vinegar and a little bit of maple syrup or a little bit of honey with it, and mix it up with some water. Drink that every morning. I do like about 2 capfuls, just a little bit of sweetener in there. You can put stevia or something in there if you want. You're just trying to, because the apple cider vinegar is pretty acidic. Surprise, surprise. But I want to tell you, boy, do you start losing weight quickly when you do that. And it's so healthy for you, yes. So I try to make sure about 3 times a week that I start my day. I've got this combination that I drink, all right? I combine apple cider vinegar, some stevia type, it's organic maple syrup. I've also got the no sugar one, and a little bit of psyllium husk. And that's the stuff you find in, what's the trade name for it, Jody? I can see it. I just can't remember the name. But not Benefiber, but it's one of those things. Metamucil. There you go. Metamucil, I did the research to find out what's in it, and what's in it is psyllium husk. So, and it's orange flavored, right? Yeah, thanks, Jody. So I managed to get there all by myself eventually. So what I do is I just buy the psyllium husk, and I put it through my blender to get it into really fine, and then I add a little touch of orange flavoring. How much money am I saving doing that? So, these little things, little changes will change your life. But I look at it, I want to save on that side so I can buy, put the roof on my shed. Jody's saying for a moment, I thought the bottle was soy sauce. Yes. Nope, that is good old-fashioned apple cider vinegar. Oh, you thought this one was soy sauce? You can tell. Does anybody know why they put the little handle on maple syrup bottles? It's a really, it's, Jody, just Google it. I just want to make sure I'm right. I believe I know, but I want to make sure I'm right. Jody's saying because it's cute. Why do they put the little handle on maple syrup bottles? Let me start talking what I think it is, just so that you know what my thought is. My thought is that originally when they made maple syrup, I think they made these like this so they could hang it on the tree, and then the maple syrup could just drop into the bottle. But that is, and then of course when they began to make it mass production, they kept the bottle that shape. But Jody will let us know if I'm right. But that's, it's maple syrup because it's got the little handle on it. And you probably thought, why do they make such a small handle? You can't hold it well with it. It was meant to go on a branch, right? So it was meant to hang on a branch so that they could drip the sap in. The things we learn, right? All right. So while Jody's looking that up, Jack Canfield, famous author. If you don't like your outcomes, change your responses. Remember, that's what we're saying. And Janie's saying tribute to LG ceramic jugs of yesteryear. Yes, that's true. That's a very good thing. I just remembered I've got this little jug of blueberry syrup that's got the same handle. Now, you know why the big jugs used to have these handles, so you could put your finger through it and then swig the bottle. But interesting. We'll find out in a minute. You're right. I remember that I had the bottle. I buy blueberry syrup, and I just keep topping it up when I want to, right? Because I just need this in my fridge. I don't need a big bottle of it. Interesting stuff. That's why I love doing the broadcast. I learn so much. You don't implement change easily in Japan unless you explain very clearly why you need to do this change, how you're going to do this change, and what's going to be the outcome of the change. If you offset or you forget to explain one of these 3 steps, you're not going to do it. Oh, Jody is saying that the little handle now is purely decorative. Yes, but why was it originally? Why did they originally put those little handles on bottles? That would be my question. I know with the booze jugs, you could put your, I can't do it, Diana, but if you can imagine, you could put your thing and you sort of held it over your shoulder and glug, 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 and you could still be holding it. You took the weight on your shoulder, and then just when you needed to drink from it, you sort of turned and glug, 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 and then. So change is definitely not an easy thing, but if you want to change anything, right? If you want to get your house tidy, complaining about what an untidy house you've got does nothing. Do we all agree on that? Looking at it and feeling despondent doesn't change a thing. All those feelings you have will not change a thing. The only thing that changes outcomes is that you do something. Jenny, you asked me, do you remember that I sent you some blueberry syrup? Yes, I do remember, Jenny. Thank you. And I'm still using it. Jody's saying handles are a remnant from when most jugs were large earthenware containers. That's right. The handle's useful when you're carrying 5 pounds of liquid, but not so much when you can easily grab the whole bottle. Okay, so that's why we originally had them. Thanks, Jody. I knew there was a reason. Since your outcomes are all a result of your moment-to-moment choices, you have an incredible power to change your life by changing those choices. Step by step, day by day, your choices will shape your actions until they become habits, where practice makes them permanent. So I beg you to be aware that you can change almost anything that you want to change. But you, number one, need to recognize that you want to change it. I would say number two, that you want to change it enough that you're prepared to do something. And the number three is that you actually do something. You make it part of your day to do something. So I look at it and go, I used to be a really untidy person. I don't mind telling you that. But little by little, with my little routines, I notice that I am a lot tidier than I have ever been in my lifetime. A lot tidier than I've ever been in my lifetime. And I now totally understand the concept of contain it. All right. And because you see me open up my drawers, right? And you can see I've got things in Kleenex boxes here. All right. I've got, plastic tops for bowls here. I've got medium-sized baggies in here. I've got the small ones in here. I've got, small containers. These are ones that come from, I know these are the perfect containers for fruit, all right, because they come in it. So whether you buy applesauce or whatever, I keep these containers. Why? I use them a lot as mini greenhouses for growing my seedlings, but they're also useful in my fridge. And if I need to have something covered, I will use two and just, have a bit of elastic band around it like this. Yeah. So, so a couple of mantras that I want you to get into the habit. When you look at something and say, I really should do something about that, I want you to say to yourself, shoulding all over yourself is not going to make it happen. And then correct it and say, I am going to do 5 minutes starting right now. I am fed up with looking at it. Yes, Jody's saying she uses the little plastic containers as prep containers when you're cooking. Yeah, you'll see me use them a lot on a Friday night when I'm doing cooking, right? So to me, this is about, think about what you complain about and things that upset you in your house. You don't have to do it all, right? That's where we get stuck. We think we've got to make a total change. Jody, I know that you said you've already tightened your belts as much as you possibly can, all right, because of all that's happened to you. But I want to tell you something. You do a really good job, all right, of eating well. And my question is, if you really needed to, could you get permission, maybe from your landlord, to use, part area of that green area you have that's wasted on lawns? That's another thing that happened. People didn't have lawns, all right, when when the hard times hit. People turned the lawns into gardens of food, all right? And so the question is, can you start learning how to grow food? And can you start learning how to eat the food you can grow? I'm still doing experiments on growing potatoes, all right? I probably have about 6 different ways of growing potatoes going at the moment. Now, the joke is, none of them has worked particularly well. I did get about a handful of potatoes last year. None of them worked particularly well, but I'm still working on it. Why? Because I'm not far away from doing it now, because I did get results last year. So, I understand. It's like I'm patient enough, but if you only start once the bad times come, by the time you've learned how to do it, we're going to be back to normal again. And remember, anything you teach yourself like that, nobody can ever take it away from you. If you've learned how to bake your own bread, nobody can take that away. Anything that you learn, it's yours, right? Nobody can take it from you. And not only that, those of you who are contributors, who like to contribute to the world, once you've learned how to bake bread, you can bake bread for your whole community if you wanted to. And by the way, could that become an income for you if necessary? You bet. I've got a neighbor who makes the most unbelievable pierogies. Why would I ever make them? All right. She's got some recipe from way back when. And once a year she makes a huge batch and she sells them. Right? She has a big freezer. She fills it up. Maybe she does it a few times during the year, but I want to tell you something. She freezes the whole lot, and then once a year she has I think in October, she sells them off. Yeah, I want to tell you, they are awesome. I'm actually due for another batch because I actually gave her the money. Our bodies change our minds can change our behavior, and our behavior changes our outcomes, not our thinking. Feeling badly about a mess doesn't change anything. Doing something about it. By the way, don't get when my car wouldn't start, did I panic? No. Why? I only use my car once a week. And the joke was that 2 days before, a day before, I'd had it serviced. So I knew the battery was good a day before. So something was weird, right? Now, I do need to tell you, I did wait until it was dark to see if something was turned on that I didn't know about, like an inside light, and I found that they had turned on my side lights. And so then I turned those off, obviously. So, those sort of things, it's like I didn't panic. Because panicking won't get my car working again, right? Knowledge will, money probably will, but panicking doesn't. Values determine culture. Culture determines behavior, and behavior determines outcomes. How many of you know that you are in the top 5% of the world? I don't care how much money you have. I don't care how little money you have. The fact that you can afford to watch me, and the fact that you can afford the technology to watch me, the fact that you can afford to eat the way that you do, puts you in the top 5% of the world. Do you understand that? I don't care if you're broke. You are still in the top 5% of the world. The majority of the world thinks the way you live is a dream to which they will never, ever be able to aspire. Do you understand that? Be grateful for the problems you've got. And know that you will find a way. Why? You are all learners. How do I know that? You watch Dear Mama Sal. Makes sense? If you are somebody that is constantly learning, you will survive. Why? You'll constantly be researching stuff. And by the way, like Jody will be telling me, Sal, try the pre-filtered milk. And I did, and I went, I can't believe that it's the same. I actually didn't notice enough of a change in the taste, Jody, that I went, oh, that's quite a shift. Uh, I had I had cereal last night, and I thought that's when I would really notice it because that's the first time I've had it, with cereal. No, it was just fine, but no more bad milk. All right, in the time that it would normally take. Do you also agree that a positive attitude will lead to positive outcomes? This, I had to smile this week. I didn't have to, but I chose to, right? Because these Sweet Williams planted themselves in my garden from last year. These, I think are the flowers from my spring onions. And then this is a bud that fell off my rose tree when I went to plant it. I've got a couple of them that are in there. So this is like, do you understand that made me happy? I didn't do any work to create those. I didn't do any work to create these. And this was something that was supposedly throw it away because it broke off. I went, no, I'm going to keep it. And in this one, I've even got a poppy. Hi, Jolie. Good to see you. All right. And so, and I've now planted lavender again. I didn't have any in my garden, but I do now. So, and this is a geranium. So, it's just like I'm doing it in my garden, right? I don't want to work hard in my garden, but I want to have a really pretty garden. So what I'm doing is I'm constantly researching what can I put in my garden so that it will come back, right? And my biggest problem will be weeding most of the flowers out, not trying to put them in. Jeannie's saying, update, after nearly 2 years, we have our assurance go ahead to buy a new generator. Well done, Jeannie. And that's because you didn't quit on it, right? That's because you didn't quit on it, right? You kept saying, we deserve a new generator. And I'm really proud of you. So do we all agree, all right, that nothing changes unless we do something? And if we keep doing what we've always done, nothing will change. I found, how many of you remember when my deck was such a mess? And I said, my new thing is to spend 10 minutes on that deck every day of the week, Monday to Friday. Not Fridays, Monday to Thursday, right? I spent 10 minutes. And then on Saturday, I'd spend half an hour. Whole deck got totally cleaned up in a heartbeat. It took me not very long at all. And so I look at it and go, you can do this, people, right? If you had to make changes in your life because of something as devastating as a recession, a serious recession, remember it doesn't last forever. That's the number one thing I want you to remember, that it may get difficult and it may get very difficult, but it will only be for a period of time, maybe a year, 18 months. All right? Jolie, it's a pleasure. All right? It's really a pleasure. Are you talking about the garden? So, Jolie, just so you know, I am presently researching what I want for my fall garden. All right? Because this coming week, my what do you call it? Nursery has a chain, what do you call it? A sale on. And I've already got a list of the plants that I want to buy for fall and winter, that I can put them, I can keep them probably on my deck or whatever, or plant them if it's not too hot yet. Uh, I'll either plant them immediately before it gets too hot, or I will wait until September and then plant them. But I'll keep them on my deck or something where I can nurture them. But the reason is that I've got I've got all these coupons that I picked up during the when I was buying my summer stuff. And so I know that I can get, I think it's 38% off each. So I could buy, all right, think about that. That's nearly 40% off. I could buy twice as many just about as I would have been able to. And I'm going to work really hard to buy perennials. I will probably buy another rose and get it in the garden. Maybe, and I will then look at perennials. And I've got my list ready to go. It's going to cost me money this year. But I'll be saving 38%. But after that, I'm looking to have a total year-long garden where I don't have to plant if I don't want to. Now, if I want to, then I can. But again, think about this. To buy a plant costs these days $5 or $6 to buy a well-established one. For that price, you can buy 100 of them. But will they all grow? No. Is it possible it'll take you 2 years to get one or two to grow properly? I don't know. This is the whole thing. It's like I found that seeds are very finicky. I have a yellow house, so I wanted to get some, a lot of yellow in my garden, all right, to complement the house. Obviously, I've got reds and other colors, but I love calendula. I don't know about you. I love these flowers. And so I planted a few seeds, and I've got about a dozen that are growing nicely now. Now, they probably won't go into the garden until I'll put them under a tree this year. All right. But I only planted some of the seeds, not all of them. I wanted to make sure that they would come up. So what I will do now is, grow some that I won't necessarily put in the full sun this year. All right. I will just keep them under a tree this year because I'm doing it late. But the thing is this, next year, do I know that I can grow calendulas if I want to? And every year they will give me the seeds I need for next year. And probably enough to, put calendulas in everybody else's garden as well. A way of earning money if I needed to. Think about that. So, Jolie, I like the fact you said such positive energy. Yeah, and I'm going to be 75 this year. So you look at it, Jolie, and my energy comes from the fact I enjoy things. Genuinely, you heard me say that when I looked at these and went, this isn't even summer stuff yet. The roses aren't there and the peonies and stuff like that. But how many of you know to be able to have a bouquet of flowers and I grew those makes me happy. The fact that half of the ones in here are actually from vegetables, not from flowers, made me happy. So this makes me overjoyed, not just happy. I did it. My little herb garden that's growing here with I got basil and parsley. I've got lettuce growing in my herb garden now. It's so exciting. So you look at it and go, why would I not have a positive attitude? By the way, did it all work the first time? Absolutely not. But I don't quit on things that I want to learn because I know that failure is part of the learning. All right? I am prepared to fail enough times so that I can learn. Uh, I've learned that a loaf of bread to me now is this size, right? This is half a loaf. Whereas a year ago, a loaf of bread was this size. This is a loaf of bread for me, and it will last me probably 2 or 3 days at least, maybe 4, nearly a week. But that's my bread. I've learned how to bake bread. I failed a lot. And I've learned how to make my own multigrain sourdough that is so tasty. I've done the work. I don't even think about it now. It's second nature. I've had enough practice. So Jody, please keep updating us on how the elliptical is helping your circulation. All right? Please keep us updated so we can inspire other people who cannot stand necessarily that if they use their muscles in their legs, it will help them. All right? And Jody, I am so pleased because I really know that once you get that strength back in your legs, you'll be going out with the fluff ball and getting fresh air more often. And for some reason, that's really important. And, even if it takes you until January to or even to spring again, all right, to get up the muscle strength, I know you will. I know that you will. And I know the rewards you will get from it. And I know that you will be continuing to build your strength in your arms and your legs. You're not going to just sit back and go, I'm ill, and I just need to accept that. I am so proud of you. I am so proud of you. So, everybody, this is DearMamaSal saying we can change and we can adapt and we can do almost anything we choose to. Ah, that's so cute. Jody's saying, how can I fail with that marvelous support? Well, this is, it's what we do for one another. Isn't that why we get together? Isn't that the whole reason of doing DearMamaSal is so we can be a support group for people? And I assure you, this is not a one-way trade. All right? I love the fact that every week I'm learning new stuff. Every week I'm researching stuff and going, boy, I didn't know that. Like apple cider on a mosquito bite. Who would have thought? This is DearMamaSal saying, let's keep learning, let's keep growing, and let's keep up our mental, emotional intelligence, all right? Not giving excuses. The reason that's untidy is because, no, this is called the reason it's untidy is because I haven't done anything about it. That's, if you can handle that truth, you are well on the way to getting it fixed, right? And I stop myself now when I'm about to give an excuse for some things. I'll go, I was about to say the reason that's still untidy is because da 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 da. But the truth is, the reason it's still untidy is I haven't done anything in there for 6 months. End of story. DearMamaSal saying, thanks everybody. Jody, thank you for looking after us and doing the research for us the way that you do. It's brilliant. And we'll catch you tonight where I'll be talking about where's the beef. Bye-bye for now.